Okay, let's look at this binomial distribution. 77% of husband and wife families with kids under 18 years old have life insurance. A random sample of 6 husband and wife families was selected. What is the probability that 5 or more families have life insurance? So we're looking for the success of 5 or more families having life insurance. So our sample is the 6 husband-wife families, and then the probability, let's see, X is the probability that 5 or more families. 5 or more would be 5 or 6. So we have 2 values for X's in this problem. So we're going to work this twice. First with X being 5, and then another time with X being 6. And remember, if it's or, we're going to add those 2 numbers probabilities together. Okay, so for P, let me change the color here. That's a little too bright. For P, the probability of them having life insurance is 0.77. So Q would have to be 0.23. Now we're ready to plug in. First, we're going to do the probability of 5 with a sample of 6. So plug in your values. We know that P is 0.77 and X for our first one is 5. And then here we would do 6 minus 5. So let's simplify this. So here on the bottom, we end up with 6 minus 5 would be 1 factorial and 5 factorial. So we want to cancel out with the 5 factorial. And let's go over here. 6 minus 5 would just be 1. So we end up with, we know 6 divided by 1 is 6. So we end up with 6 times 0.77 to the 5th times 0.23. So our final answer is going to be 4 decimal places. So let's round our 2 probabilities before we add them together to 5 decimal places. So when you put that in your calculator, you will get 0.37353. So now we have the probability of 5, but we want the probability of 5 or more, and there's only 6, so you can only do the probability of 5 or 6. So now we're going to do, let's do a different color. Now we're going to do the probability of 6 families having life insurance out of a sample size of 6. So let me make that a little smaller here. We end up with N, which is, let me write our values over here so we don't get confused. I'm just plugging into my formula, which is, my formula is right here. So I'm looking at this as I'm plugging in. So N 6 factorial over N minus X, and then over X factorial, which is 6. P is 0.77, X is 6, Q is 0.23, and then 6 minus 6. So let's simplify that. So you have a 6 factorial on the top and the bottom. Those are going to cancel. So you end up with 0 factorial on the bottom. Just note that 0 factorial is 1. So we end up with 1 here, which we don't have to write because we're multiplying other things by it. And then you end up with 0.23 to the 0 power, which is 1. Anything to the 0 power is 1. So we end up with 0.77 to the 6 power times 1. And that number is going to be 0.20842. So now we need to do the probability of 5 or 6. So we need to add these two numbers together. 0.37353 plus 0.20842 would equal 0.58195, which rounded would be 0.5820. So the probability that 5 or more families have life insurance, there's a 58% probability that they will have life insurance.